dear soul, take a deep breath and allow yourself to receive what your heart was meant to hear in this exact moment. This isn't just another message. It's a divine revelation you were destined to open. The angels have been whispering your name through the silence, and now they are ready to show you what was said about you behind closed doors, where truth slips out when no one thinks you're listening. Because today, your person, yes, the one who once kept so much hidden, finally said your name out loud, not to you, not to the world, but to someone they trust deeply, their brother. And what poured out of them in that moment, it wasn't rehearsed, it wasn't planned, it came straight from the part of them that's still haunted by you, still in love with you, still trying to explain you to someone who wasn't there to feel what they felt. And the moment your name came up, something shifted in the room. A heaviness filled the space, and suddenly, they weren't talking about just a person. They were talking about the one who got away, the one they couldn't forget. And the most surprising part? Their brother listened. Really listened. And when your person started describing the way you made them feel, the silence you filled in their life, the way your presence brought peace, and the ache that settled in after you left, there was no mocking, no judgment, just stillness. Because even he could feel it, the weight of what your person lost. And for the first time in a long time, your person didn't hold back. They said things they never had the courage to say before. They said you were different, that with you things felt real, that they ruined something they weren't ready for, but now can't live without. And as they kept talking, their voice shook, because it wasn't just a conversation, it was a confession. A heart-soaring, soul-spilling moment of clarity, the kind that only happens when someone is finally tired of pretending they're okay. They spoke about the way your laughter still lingers in their memory like music, the way your silence now screams louder than any argument. They talked about the look in your eyes that made them feel seen in a way no one ever had. And the moment they admitted they still check your profile, still wonder how you are, still hear your name in songs they used to skip, something broke inside of them. And their brother saw it. He saw what you meant to him. He saw that this wasn't just infatuation or a passing memory, it was love, real, raw, and unfinished. So why are you here right now hearing this? Because your soul needed to know. You weren't crazy, you weren't imagining the depth of what you shared. Even in your silence, your energy still lives within them. And now, the truth they once buried is surfacing. The words they never said to you are spilling out to others, because sometimes, before a soul returns to its mirror, it has to speak the truth out loud to someone who won't run, who won't cry, who will simply listen. And today, that listener was their brother. But soon, beloved soul, that listener will be you, because this confession was only the beginning. They're being prepared, broken open by honesty, called back into alignment by divine timing. And the person who once ran from you is now beginning to realize they can't keep running from themselves. My brother asked one question at the end of that conversation. Do you still love them? And your person didn't speak. They just nodded. With tears they tried to hide. And in that silent nod, a lifetime of denial unraveled. This is why the angels brought you here, not to stir pain, but to reveal truth. Your love left a mark, one that can't be explained away, replaced, or ignored. And as they face what they've buried, the divine is guiding their heart back to you, not in haste, but in healing. Beloved soul, the reason you were led to hear this message today is not just because they spoke about you. It's because of what happened within them after they spoke. Something shifted. Something broke open in the spirit. Because the truth wasn't just confessed to their brother, it was exposed within their own soul. so long they've been moving in silence, hiding things, smiling on the surface while holding something sacred in the shadow. They didn't want anyone to see how much they were still holding on to you. But something happened recently, something they couldn't run from. A moment where they realized the mask they've been wearing was never protecting them. It was keeping them from healing. They've been watching you quietly, trying to decode your silence, trying to read your energy like a sacred language only their heart still remembers. They thought they could keep their distance. They thought they could let go of what they felt. But every time they convinced themselves they were done, your presence returned in unexpected ways. A scent, a song, a dream that left them waking with tears they couldn't explain. They've been walking a fine line between pretending they're fine and feeling everything all at once. And now, the truth is catching up to them. Because they weren't just lying to others, they were lying to themselves. But something greater is at work now. A divine force has been moving in the background, slowly removing what's not aligned, ending the old cycles that kept this connection stuck. The illusions are falling apart, the stories they told themselves, the reasons they pushed you away, the fears that held them back are losing their power. They're beginning to understand that something must end for something far greater to begin. This isn't about drama anymore, it's about soul truth. It's about finally choosing peace over pride, love over fear, light over hiding, and in that stillness, they're starting to see something beautiful. They're realizing what they truly want. Not chaos, not the empty attention of others. They want warmth, stability, a feeling of coming home to someone who knows their soul without needing words. And they know where that feeling lives. It lives in your energy. It lives in the connection they once thought they could replace. They can't replace it. They're done trying. What's coming next isn't just a confession. It's a shift in their being. They are finally stepping into alignment with their truth. And what once felt impossible is beginning to form. Because now, beloved, you are being prepared too. Your soul has been quietly healing. Even through confusion, you've stayed connected to your higher knowing. You've sensed their return, not from desperation, but from intuition. And you're not the same version of yourself anymore. You've grown. You've remembered your worth. You've realigned with your divine path. And now the energy between you is magnetizing, drawing in clarity, drawing in manifestation, drawing in a reunion that's not based on wounded longing, but on awakened love. There is a powerful moment approaching, one that will feel surreal when it arrives. A message, a visit, a sign so specific you'll feel your whole body pause, not out of fear, but out of recognition. Because this time, when they look at you, they'll be looking through different eyes. Eyes that have finally seen the truth. Eyes that have stopped hiding. Eyes that are ready to meet yours again, not in secrecy, but in sacred honesty. They're not just returning to a person, they're returning to a mirror. A soul that saw them before they ever knew how to see themselves. And this time, when they stand in front of you, they'll feel it in their chest. That pull, that trembling recognition, that inner whisper saying, this is where the running ends. And even if they try to keep it together, their energy will give them away because you'll feel it. You'll feel their remorse, their truth, and that lingering ache that says, I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to love myself back then. This realization is humbling them. It's waking them up to everything they pushed away, the depth of your love, the safety in your presence, the way you never needed to be loud to be powerful. You loved them with stillness. And that stillness echoes now, louder than any chaos they once chose. Their heart is remembering the home it once felt in your presence, and nothing they've touched since has come close. Even their brother noticed it, the way their eyes softened when your name came up, the shift in their tone when they said, "She didn't deserve how I handled things." That admission wasn't just heard, it was felt. And in that moment, even the one who thought they knew them best realized this wasn't just a connection. This was something spiritual, sacred, something that left a mark even silence couldn't erase. And now, divine timing is stirring, quietly, strategically. Your angels aren't rushing this moment. They're preparing it, protecting it, honoring the healing that needed to happen on both sides. And even if it's felt delayed, even if you've questioned the silence, beloved soul, know this: it was never a denial. It was a divine delay so that what's returning to you would be healed, whole, and ready to speak truth. Because what they're carrying back to you isn't just words. It's weight. It's revelation. It's a soul finally ready to face what it ran from, not with excuses, but with eyes that don't look away anymore. You see, beloved soul, there comes a moment in every runner's path when the road runs out, when every distraction loses its shine, and the very things they chased to forget you begin to echo your name back to them. This is that moment, that sacred point of reckoning, where they can no longer deny what their soul has always known, that the silence between you hasn't been empty. It's been pregnant with truth, with a love that didn't end, it just went underground, waiting for the strength to rise again. And rise. It is, because lately your person has been feeling you in ways they can't explain. Not just in the dreams that leave them waking in tears, not just in the songs they keep skipping because the lyrics hit too close, but in everyday, ordinary moments, like the way the air feels when the sun hits their skin a certain way, or the sound of laughter that reminds them of the joy they once felt beside you. They're seeing you in everything, not as a ghost, but as a guide, a soul they left behind who never truly left them. And now, the weight of what they didn't say is pressing against their chest. They're remembering moments they thought they had buried, the way you waited patiently when they pushed you away, the way your eyes never flinched when they told you their ugliest truths, the way you still offered love when they offered distance. And they're beginning to understand. They didn't lose you because you weren't enough. They lost you because they didn't know how to receive something so whole when they themselves were still fractured. But heaven has been working on them in the silence, in the late nights where their thoughts grow louder than sleep, in the spaces where ego can no longer drown out the whisper of truth. They've been confronted with the reality of their own patterns, the masks, the games, the deflection, and it's no longer sustainable. Their soul is tired, tired of pretending, tired of avoiding, tired of living a half-truth. When they once tasted something so pure with you, and now they're awakening, not in a rush, not in a dramatic explosion, but like the quiet rising of the sun, gentle, steady, undeniable. They're starting to see the difference between attention and connection, between being wanted and being loved, between what fed their pride and what nourished their soul. And you nourished them in ways they never understood until you were gone. That's why their brother was shocked, not just by what they said, but by how they said it. The honesty, the emotion, the way their voice trembled when they admitted, "I never stopped thinking about her." That wasn't drama, that was transformation. A crack in the armor, a heart trying to speak after being quiet for far too long, and the universe heard it. Everything is aligning now in ways you may not fully see yet, but you can feel it. The tension in your spirit, the waves of emotion that seem to come out of nowhere, the sudden signs, numbers, names, timing that pull your thoughts back to them just when you think you've finally moved forward. That's not regression, that's reconnection, a spiritual signal that something is forming, that what once felt lost is now being restructured in divine timing, because there's a message being written in the spiritual, one that's preparing to manifest in the physical. It may come through a dream, a text, a third party, or a divine coincidence so specific that it'll stop you in your tracks. But it will come. And when it does, it won't just be surface level. It will carry the weight of everything they never had the courage to say. Not just apologies, but ownership. Not just affection, but reverence. They're going to tell you about the moments you never saw, how they cried alone when they realized you were really gone, how they reread old messages just to feel close to your energy, how they stayed quiet, not because they didn't care, but because they didn't feel worthy enough to come forward. They're going to tell you how they've changed, not for you, but because of what your love awakened in them. And when you hear it, it will feel familiar, not because it's rehearsed, but because your soul has already heard it in the spirit. Because every prayer you whispered, every tear you cried in silence, every moment you surrendered this connection to divine hands, it was received, it was honored, and now it's returning, not in the form of what was, but in the form of what can now finally be. If your heart feels this message in your bones, comment, "It's already mine." Let the angels know your faith is still open. And, beloved, while you wait, don't shrink. Don't second-guess your worth. Don't fall into the trap of believing love has forgotten you. It hasn't. Love has been refining you, protecting you, preparing you. Your glow isn't the result of being chosen by someone else. It's the result of choosing yourself while trusting the divine. And now, the one who once doubted your light is being drawn back to it, not out of loneliness, but out of revelation. They've seen the difference between a spark and a flame, and with you, it was never just chemistry. It was soul. It was purpose. It was home. So let them come as they are. Let them show you the parts of themselves they once. Let them speak the words they once swallowed. Let them bring their trembling truth to your open presence. And let your spirit discern, not from a place of pain, but from a place of power. Because this time, you're not waiting to be chosen. You're watching to see if they've chosen themselves. If they've done the work, if they've met their own soul before asking to stand beside yours again. And if they have, then what's being returned to you won't be familiar chaos. It will be sacred alignment. It will be late-night honesty instead of silent tension. It will be forehead kisses and gentle words instead of passive-aggressive withdrawal. It will be consistency, not confusion. It will be a love that shows up and stays, not because it's perfect, but because it's finally real. There is a reason your soul has been feeling unsettled lately, not in panic, but in preparation. You've sensed it, haven't you? That something in the spirit has shifted. That someone, somewhere, is beginning to unravel truths they once swore they'd never speak. It's not imagination. It's divine timing, because right now, your person is sitting with realizations that no longer leave room for pride or denial. They are hearing echoes in their mind, your voice, your words, your silence. And for the first time, they aren't trying to run from it. They're letting it sink in, letting it wash over them like a tide they can't fight anymore. They are being softened, not by time, but by truth. And that truth is this: they loved you more than they could admit, and they hurt you more than they intended, and now the guilt of that balance is pressing so heavy on their chest they can barely carry it alone. This is why they're talking, why the brother, the friend, the one person they never opened up to has now become the witness to their silent suffering. Because keeping your name locked inside hasn't brought them peace. It's only made the ache louder. And as much as they've tried to distract, to bury themselves in routine, in attention, in shallow replacements, none of it worked. Not one of them was you. Not one of them touched the part of their soul that you once held without even trying. And now that part is aching, starved of the connection that once made them feel alive, seen, understood. They're realizing, no matter how many people admire them, if it's not your eyes they're looking into, it doesn't feel like truth. And they've started questioning everything. Why did they run? Why didn't they speak sooner? Why couldn't they let themselves accept something so real? When it was right in front of them, the answers are starting to come, but not from logic, from the soul, from the deep broken places that finally want to be healed. And those answers are whispering. It was fear, not of you, but of being seen, of being known, of being loved in a way that doesn't let them hide anymore. Because that's what you did. You saw through the walls, through the masks, through the stories they told to keep people at arm's length, and that terrified them. But now, it's haunting them, because no one else has ever looked at them like you did. Not just with love, but with recognition. You didn't fall for who they pretended to be. You fell for who they were underneath. And now they are waking up to the cost of pushing that kind of love away. The world can clap for them, the crowd can cheer, but they still lay in bed at night wondering what you're doing, who you're with, if you've moved on, if you still remember the way your souls used to speak without words. And that wondering is beginning to burn through their defenses. It's beginning to make them restless. Because what they lost with you can't be found in anyone else. And heaven is letting them feel that. Not to punish, but to prepare. Because this isn't about guilt. It's about awakening. It's about bringing the soul to a place where it can finally say, I see it now. I see them. I see what I had, I see what I did, and I want to make it right. And that desire is no longer just a thought. It's becoming action. Their spirit is aligning, their steps are being guided. And even if they don't know exactly how they'll reach you, they're starting to ask the one question that changes everything. How do I begin again with them? That question is sacred. It means the ego is stepping aside. It means the soul is leading now. And when the soul leads, nothing can stay hidden for long. That's why their dreams have changed. Why their energy has started showing up around you again. Why you're sensing them when you weren't even thinking of them. It's not coincidence. It's alignment. They are being called forward by a love that doesn't manipulate, but awakens. A love that doesn't push, but pulls with truth. A love that doesn't demand, but reminds them you were always home. And as they come closer, you may feel a storm in your spirit, old wounds rising, old questions reappearing. That's okay. It's part of the cleansing, part of the divine preparation to make room for a new kind of connection, one where both souls are ready, one where both hearts can breathe, one where apologies aren't just words, they're bridges. And love isn't just spoken, it's embodied. 'Cause this time, you won't settle for half effort. You won't hold space for someone who still isn't sure. You're not the same. You've grown. You've healed. You've reclaimed the parts of yourself that once begged for answers, and now your presence is your power. Your silence is your boundary. Your peace is your protection. You don't need them to return for closure. You are already complete. But if they return with truth, if they return with real change, if they return not to be saved but to stand beside you in sacred union, then, and only then, will this next chapter begin, and beloved, it is beginning. They don't want to come back just to tell you they miss you. They want to come back different. They want to show you, not just say it. And that's what's taking time. That's why the silence has stretched longer than you expected. It's not because they've forgotten. It's not because they've moved on. It's because they're trying to become someone worthy of standing in front of you again. Not in the shadow of old wounds, but in the light of who they're becoming. And that process, it's been heavy. It's been humbling. It's made them face parts of themselves they never wanted to admit existed. That selfishness, the sabotage, the pride that kept them quiet when they should have spoken. And now they're learning what real strength looks like. Not power over others, but the courage to admit when they were wrong. Because the truth is, they weren't ready back then. Ready to be loved in the way you loved them. Ready to meet someone who saw straight through their masks. Ready to show up consistently. They wanted you, but they weren't ready for what you required. They wanted the feeling of you without the responsibility of keeping that energy safe. And now that you've been gone, they understand what they lost, and more importantly, why they lost it. They've seen you glow without them, watched you hold your head high through silence. They've seen you become stronger, softer, wiser, all at once. And that's what's haunting them the most. Because they thought time and distance would erase what they felt, but instead, it carved out a deeper space in them that only you seem to fill. They've tried to connect with others, but no one speaks the language your soul spoke to theirs. No one matches your depth, your grace, your fire. And no one looks at them the way you once did, with both gentleness and knowing, like you could see all their broken pieces and still believe in their wholeness. And now, they're longing to feel that again, to be seen again, but not as the version they used to be, as the one they're becoming. They're not coming back to relive old cycles. They're coming back to rewrite them, to rebuild from truth, to rebuild from healing, because this time they want to walk toward you with a heart that's open, a voice that's steady, and hands that don't drop what's sacred. They've started imagining what that moment will look like, the moment they reach out, how you'll respond, what you'll say, if you'll still be open, if you'll still recognize them. And the truth is, they don't know, and that uncertainty is terrifying. But they're moving through it anyway, because the fear of losing you forever is now greater than the fear of being vulnerable. Their brother asked them recently, "What are you so afraid of?" And they didn't have an answer. Because deep down, they know the only thing that's ever stood in the way was them. Not your expectations, not your love, just their own avoidance, their own walls. And they're tired of it. Tired of pretending they don't feel what they feel. Tired of acting like this connection was just a phase. Because it wasn't. It was destiny. And it still is. This is why you've been feeling emotional at random, why the air feels heavier some days, why your intuition is louder at night. The spiritual realm is speaking, preparing you, aligning the timing. They're being pulled toward you not through pressure, but through purpose. And every step they take now is guided. Every hesitation is being challenged. And every moment they resist is met with signs they can't ignore anymore because heaven has already approved the reunion. The soul contract is still alive, but the terms have changed. This new chapter won't allow half-truths. It won't allow avoidance. It won't allow delay. What's meant to return must come back healed. And what's being built now must be protected, nurtured, and honored. And the beauty is you're ready too. You're not waiting. You're not chasing. You're standing, rooted, aligned. You've done your part. You've cried, surrendered, released, and risen. And now all that remains is for what's yours to find its way back home to you. Not by force, but by frequency. Not through desperation, but through divine magnetism. Because you are no longer the version of yourself who once begged to be chosen. You are the version who knows you've always been chosen. By heaven, by purpose, by alignment. So when this soul returns, you will feel it. Not just in their words, but in their presence, in the way they approach you, in the way they honor what you've become. They will look at you with different eyes, not just because of who you are now, but because they've finally opened their own. They will tell you things you weren't expecting. They will share feelings they once buried. They will admit how long they've held on to you, silently. And for a moment, it will feel surreal, because you dreamed of this for so long. But it won't be a dream anymore. It will be a divine return. And when that moment arrives, you won't need to question whether they've changed. You'll know. Not because they say all the right things, but because their energy will match their words. Their actions will match their intentions, and their presence will bring peace, not confusion. There is a moment in the soul's journey when the illusions fall away, and only truth remains. Your person is walking through that moment now. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's quiet, sacred, deeply humbling. They're realizing that the story they've been living isn't the one their heart longs for. The roles they've played, the masks they've worn, the coping mechanisms they've clung to, they're all starting to dissolve under the weight of something greater. Remembrance, not just of who you were to them, but who they were when they were with you. You didn't just love them, you mirrored back to them a version of themselves they barely recognized. A version that was softer, braver, more honest, more alive. And now, in the absence of your energy, they're left chasing shadows of that former self, wondering why nothing feels whole anymore. They've gone through the motions, relationships, distractions, success in the eyes of others, but nothing has filled the void. And it's not because they're broken. It's because their soul remembers. It remembers the safety it felt in your energy, the calm that came just from your presence, the quiet understanding in your gaze that made them feel, for once in their life, like they didn't have to perform, like they didn't have to explain themselves to be understood. And now, the absence of that presence is teaching them what they didn't value when it was right in front of them. They've been silent, yes, but don't confuse silence with peace. Inside, there's been a storm, a tug of war between the mind that says, move on, and the heart that says, go back. And now, the the heart is winning. Slowly, steadily, softly. It's breaking down the walls, calling them inward, calling them home. They're beginning to see you not through the lens of fantasy, but through the clarity of truth. They're remembering the way you spoke life into them, the way your intuition always knew what they couldn't say, the way you held space when they were lost in themselves. They're realizing they mistook comfort for weakness, honesty for pressure, love for danger. And they're finally seeing that all those fears weren't about you. They were about what your presence triggered inside them, their unhealed parts, their hidden shame, their buried self-doubt. You loved them like a mirror, and they weren't ready to face their reflection, but now they are. They're starting to trace their way back, maybe not with dramatic gestures, maybe not with grand speeches, but with real energy, with soul presence, with the kind of awareness that changes everything. They're watching your content, sitting with old photos, reading through conversations, not to reminisce, but to understand, to look at where it all shifted, to see where they shut down, to feel where the connection was lost. And with each moment of reflection, the regret grows heavier, but so does the desire to make things right. They're considering reaching out in ways that feel vulnerable, a message that says more than hi, a call that doesn't come with expectations but with sincerity, a visit that's been rehearsed 1,000 times in their mind. They're imagining what they'll say, whether you'll respond, whether you'll smile when you hear their voice, or feel the sting of memories that still ache. And still, they're willing to risk it, because the cost of staying silent is beginning to feel far greater than the risk of being rejected. They're asking themselves the kind of questions that change everything. What if they don't feel the same anymore? What if they've moved on? What if it's too late? But more than that, they're asking the question that has begun to overpower all the rest. What if they still love me, and I let this chance slip by again? And that is what's moving them. Not just guilt, not just longing, but love. Real, raw, unfiltered love. The kind that humbles a person. The kind that teaches them what it means to honor something sacred. The kind that returns not because it was chaste, but because it was meant to. And while they've been preparing to speak, heaven has been preparing your heart to receive. You've been tested too, not with words, but with silence, with patience, with the challenge of trusting what you cannot see, and you've passed. With every moment you chose faith over fear, with every time you released what wasn't serving you, with every tear you cried in silence, trusting that if it was meant, it would find its way back. And now it is, but this isn't a fairy tale ending. This is a sacred beginning, a reunion of two souls who have both been humbled by the weight of their separation, who have both tasted life apart and realized that nothing makes sense when their energies are misaligned, who now come forward not to fix each other, but to stand in the truth of who they've become. Because this time, it won't be built on fantasy, it won't be rushed by desperation, it will be slow, honest, rooted, and it will feel different, not because the love has changed, but because you both have. You'll notice it in the way they speak, in the way their eyes soften when they talk about the past, in the way they don't avoid hard questions anymore, in the way they don't just say they're here, but show it in presence, consistency, and action. Their love language will have matured. Their soul will feel familiar but stronger, more grounded, more awake. And you'll be able to receive it this time without shrinking, without questioning your worth, without overextending to prove your value. because you finally know you were always enough. You were never too much. You didn't love wrong. You just loved someone who needed time to remember who they were before they could remember how to hold you. And now that remembering is complete. They're coming home, not just to you, but to themselves. And when they do, you will feel it in your body before you hear it in their voice. You will know in your spirit before you see it in the physical. Because realignment doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be true. So take heart, dear soul. The love that was buried is being resurrected. The silence that once hurt you is turning into a voice that will speak your name with reverence. And the person who once couldn't face you is preparing to meet your eyes again. Not to beg, not to boast, but to say, thank you for loving me when I didn't know how to love myself. I see you now. I'm ready if you are. They're closer now than they've ever been. Not in distance, but in readiness, in alignment, in spirit. And though you can't yet see it with your physical eyes, the energy around them has shifted completely. The resistance that once held them back is dissolving. The fog that kept them confused is lifting. And all that's left is the truth they tried so hard to avoid. The truth that every time they moved on, part of them stayed behind with you. And it's not just memories haunting them. It's soul recognition, a knowing so deep it overrides logic. Because no matter how many paths they've taken, every road seems to lead back to the space where your energy once lived, the space they tried to forget but never could. And now they're asking questions they were never brave enough to ask before. What if I'm allowed to choose love again? What if I don't have to carry guilt forever? What if they would actually listen? If I showed up in truth this time? These questions aren't coming from ego. They're coming from longing, from stillness, from the soul that has finally grown quiet enough to hear what was always whispering beneath the surface. That whisper isn't saying, go back and fix everything. It's saying, go forward with honesty, because what they want now is not just to revisit the past. They want to meet you again in the present, with different eyes, a different heart, and the kind of awareness that only pain can create. They want to tell you the parts of the story you never heard, the late nights they almost called, the messages they wrote and deleted. Sometimes they saw your photo and something inside them shattered, because they could feel that you were healing without them. And as much as that hurt, it also woke them up, because it showed them the kind of love they had once held, and the sacredness they'd walked away from. And that's when the shift began. They stopped blaming, stopped running, stopped pretending, and instead they started remembering. Not just you, but themselves, the version of them that existed in your presence, the one who laughed deeper, breathed easier, dreamed bigger, the one who felt safe enough to imagine a future. They started remembering what it felt like to be held in your gaze without judgment, to be touched without agenda, to be loved without manipulation, and they're realizing they've never felt that again. No one has held them the way you did. Not with arms, but with energy. Not with conditions, but with trust. You gave them the kind of love people spent lifetimes searching for. And they couldn't see it then, but they see it now. And they're not just regretting losing you, they're grieving the version of themselves who wasn't ready to stay. Because that version is gone now. The pain, the silence, the longing, it's reshaped them, quietly, consistently, through every failed distraction, through every almost connection, through every empty conversation where they smiled on the outside and screamed inside. This isn't what I want. And what do they want? They want you. But not the old story. Not the rushed beginning, not the unspoken wounds. They want something different now, something sacred. They want to build, to stay, to show up, to do the work, not because they're trying to impress you, but because their soul is finally ready to hold what it once dropped. And more than anything, they want the chance to prove that healing has made them whole, not perfect, but aware. They want to look you in the eye and say, I know I ran. I know I hurt you. I know I didn't speak when I should have, but not a single day has gone by that I haven't thought of you. And I'm not here to beg. I'm here to be honest. You are the one my soul never stopped loving. And if you let me, I want to try again from truth this time. And that moment, beloved, is coming. The energy is moving. The universe is aligning. The angels are already preparing the encounter. And your heart, whether you realize it or not, has already begun preparing too. You've been clearing space, not just in your life, but in your soul. Letting go of bitterness, releasing timelines, trusting that if it's meant, it will return in divine order. And now, it's returning, but not just them. You. The version of you who once begged for closure no longer needs it. The version of you who once waited for their message now walks in peace, not pressure. The version of you who once settled just to feel wanted has remembered what it feels like to be chosen by the divine. And that energy, your strength, your stillness, your light, is what's calling them back, not to fill your silence, but to meet you in it, to sit in it, to honor it. Because now, they don't want to just talk, they want to listen. They want to hear the parts of you they never asked about, the pain they never validated, the dreams you tucked away, the strength you built in their absence. And when they see you standing in your worth, unshaken, whole, they won't be intimidated. They'll be inspired, because they'll know they're not returning to save you. They're returning because now they're ready to walk beside you. And it won't be about picking up where you left off. It will be about creating something new. From healed ground, clean intention, room clarity, room choice, and they will choose you, not out of comfort, not out of fear, but out of awareness. Because now they see you fully, spiritually, unmistakably. And this time, they're not looking away. Something inside of them is shifting now. Not just in thought, but in movement. The resistance that once held them frozen in place is melting under the pressure of truth. And it's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's subtle, sacred, and unstoppable. They're beginning to make small decisions every day that align them closer to you, clearing out the distractions, setting down the masks, walking away from energies that no longer mirror the man or woman they're becoming. And though they might not even realize it yet, each choice they make is leading them back to the doorway of your connection, not the old doorway filled with confusion and wounds, but a new one that opens with honesty, with clarity, with intention. They are quietly detaching from conversations that drain them, from people who never saw them the way you did, from lives that no longer feel like theirs. You see, when the soul awakens, it can no longer stay in spaces where truth is suppressed. They are craving authenticity now, realness, depth. And even though the world may still offer them comfort and distraction, their heart is no longer satisfied by surface-level connection. They want home, not just in a place, but in a person. And your energy was the only place they ever felt that kind of rest. They've stopped trying to replicate you in others, stopped searching for pieces of you in new faces, new names, new bodies, because nothing feels the same. No one sees them with the eyes you saw them through. No one hears their silence like you did. No one holds space for their vulnerability the way you did when they were breaking down internally and smiling on the outside. And they are beginning to accept something they once tried so hard to deny. That your love wasn't just rare, it was divinely sent. And they weren't ready for it then, but they are getting ready now. They still think about the little things, the way your energy made even the quiet moments feel sacred, the inside jokes, the way your laugh filled the room, the way your hands calmed them without even needing words. They remember how you stayed when they were most unlovable, most distant, most afraid. And now that you're gone, they realize no one else offered that kind of patience, that kind of soul-deep presence. And they ask themselves in silence, how did I let something that pure go? And will they ever even trust me again? They don't have the answers. Not yet, but they're willing to find out. Because what once scared them, your depth, your power, your intuition, now calls to them like a lifeline. They're beginning to see that your truth didn't threaten them, it revealed them, and they're no longer afraid of being seen. They're starting to talk to the universe, asking for signs, asking for guidance, asking without saying your name out loud, are they still open to me? And the signs have been coming, repeating numbers, music lyrics, dreams that feel like memories, and in those moments, their heart softens again, and they remember the parts of themselves they lost when they lost you. They've begun reaching out to people they once pushed away, apologizing, reflecting, asking questions instead of shutting down. And this growth isn't just for you, it's for them. Because even if they weren't trying to become better for you, their soul always knew it had to evolve before it could stand beside yours again. Because you were never ordinary. And even if the world convinced them that they had options, they now know you were never one of many. You were the one, the moment, the mirror, the message, and now they're writing one of their own. Not with pen and paper, yet, but in their spirit. Qu'au dispose, te se pasno agendo, de moi, cochimate, te se pasno agendo. A message that says, I finally get it, and I want to come home. Not to the past, but to the version of us we were always meant to become. You'll feel it before they speak it. You already have the tug, the vibration, the way your body reacts to their energy without explanation. That's not imagination. That's soul-level preparation. The angels are clearing your path just as they're clearing theirs. And soon, when the time is right, the veil will lift, and what's been hidden will be revealed. What's been unsaid will be spoken. What's been unfinished will be rewritten. But not all at once, because divine love doesn't rush. It honors process. It trusts timing. It moves in truth, not pressure. So if they come slowly, welcome it. If they come nervously, soften. If they come unsure, listen with your soul, not your fear. And if it's real, and it will be, you'll feel it. You won't have to force it. You won't have to question it. You'll just know. Because the love that left in fear is now returning in wisdom, and that wisdom has changed everything. And so now, as the skies shift and the winds turn, something ancient is waking inside of them, something they buried so deep they thought it would never rise again. But it is, and it's rising not with force, but with gravity, not with chaos but with clarity. They no longer crave attention. They no longer seek the noise. What their soul is crying for now is peace, stillness, a moment in your presence where they can finally say everything they never could, not with pressure, not with guilt, but with the quiet trembling of a heart that has finally learned what it means to lose something irreplaceable. They don't want to fix the past anymore. They want to build the future, not as a fantasy, but as a choice, as a sacred act of healing, of remembering, of devotion. And they know now that you are not someone they simply loved. You are someone who changed their frequency, someone who cracked open the places they tried to keep locked, someone who gave them a glimpse of the life they could have had if only they'd been ready. And the knowing of that has become unbearable, not because it hurts, but because it haunts. It haunts in the moments no one sees, in the in-between hours when the world is asleep and the soul becomes loud, when the distractions stop working, when even the strongest denials begin to collapse, when they hear your name in songs they don't even like. They see your eyes in strangers they walk past. They feel your presence in their dreams and wake up reaching for something that isn't there. But it's not just nostalgia, it's alignment, magnetic pull that is no longer allowing them to pretend. And though they don't have the perfect words yet, they are rehearsing them daily in their mind, rehearsing what they'll say, how they'll say it, what they'll admit, what they'll finally apologize for, and it terrifies them because they know this isn't just about healing you. It's about exposing themselves, and not just to you, but to the version of themselves that they betrayed by walking away, the version that loved you and didn't have the courage to hold it. But they're building that courage now, slowly, with every breath, with every lesson, with every ache. They're becoming, and they want to come forward not as a stranger, not as a ghost from your past, but as the man or woman who is seeing what life looks like without you, and who now knows they are ready to return, not out of loneliness, but out of revelation. Because your love was never a punishment, it was a prophecy, and now they're living inside the part where it's being fulfilled. They just don't know how to say it yet, but their spirit is saying it already. And yours can feel it, can't it? That tug in your chest, that heat in your palms, that sudden moment of emotion that washes over you when you weren't thinking about anything at all. That's not just memory. It's movement. Their higher self is already reaching for you. Their angels are already speaking your name, and the divine is already orchestrating the meeting point, the moment, the message. You won't have to chase it. You won't have to force it. You won't have to wonder if it's real. Because when they come forward, they will carry the kind of energy that can't be faked. They will carry the weight of everything they've realized, and they will finally look you in the eyes. Not to ask for another chance, but to say, I remember now. I know who you were to me, and I know who I want to be. If you'll let me walk with you this time. And whether you say yes or no, your soul will know this was always meant to happen. This closure, this clearing, this convergence, because when energy is true, it doesn't disappear. It just waits for the right moment to rise again. And beloved, that moment is closer than it's ever been. Dear soul, if this message reached the tender corners of your heart, if it felt like a divine whisper meant only for you, no, that was no accident. You were guided here. Heaven aligned this moment. The angels have been waiting for you to hear these words, not to stir your past, but to prepare your spirit for what's unfolding ahead. You are not alone. You have never been alone, and the energy you've been sensing, it's real. Your person is awakening, the message is being written, and the reunion you thought might never happen, it's being crafted in heaven's timing even now. So take a deep breath and let peace return to your spirit. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to prove anything. What is meant for you is returning in divine order, shaped by everything you've endured and blessed by everything you've become. Your healing has not gone unnoticed. Your prayers have not gone unheard, and your love has not been wasted. You are being prepared, protected, and positioned for something sacred. And if this message touched you deeply, if it brought clarity, warmth, or even quiet tears, I invite you to respond, not just with your thoughts, but with your energy. Leave a comment below and share what you felt during this message. Your voice matters. You never know who might be comforted by your words. If you'd like to help this sacred message reach someone else who's silently praying for guidance, please take a moment to tap the like button and share this video with someone who needs light today. Your one simple act can become a ripple of healing in someone else's life. And if you wish to stay connected to more angelic messages like this, I warmly invite you to subscribe to the channel and make sure to click the notification bell so you never miss a moment where the divine is trying to speak directly to your heart. And dear soul, if this message truly resonated and you feel led to give back, you can express your gratitude by offering a super thanks below. No gesture is too small. Your kindness not only helps this sacred space grow, but allows these angel whispers to keep flowing toward others who need comfort, clarity, and divine reassurance. Thank you for showing up today with such trust, tenderness, and openness. You are seen, you are guided, you are deeply, deeply loved. May the angels walk beside you always, lifting your heart, guiding your steps, and cradling your soul in their eternal embrace. Until we meet again in the next message, take care of your spirit, and remember, what's meant for you cannot be lost. It's already on its way. Like, comment, subscribe, share, click the bell, and if your heart feels called, offer a super thanks. The divine sees every offering of love. We'll see you in the next message, dear one.